No, no, I don't want to give like exact figures that I haven't verified, but I'll go back and then send.
You don't know how much it is?
Yeah, at this point in time, yeah.
I thought so. Honorable, let's switch over. Honorable Party Ngubane.
Chair, if you can observe the complaints from Cezanne that we balance. I think, Chair, somewhere, somehow, we need, in this country, we sometimes don't solve the root of the problem. We want to solve problems at the end. With the UFH, there is a root of the problem. Professor Butlong, you've done very well in exposing the high-profile qualifications, fraudulent qualifications, especially for two senior figures in the Eastern Cape. Hence, your life probably has been threatened and all those stuff. But the major root of the problem in this country, you can even see now when the country is on fire with the spaza shop. We take our country, Chairperson, we outsource it to foreigners. I'll say that. That's the root of the problem of this country. And I can see it now here at UFH. They start to disrespect them in the institutions. And then when they come anywhere else, they've already been given the playground already. For example, Professor Butlongo, you know, the person who was the source of dishing out all those foreign qualifications was a foreign Nigerian. We agree on that, right? The source. The source of all these problems that started at UFH. As a foreign national, whom when he came to South Africa, I don't know whether you guys vetted him, whether his qualification from Nigeria or Harvard or wherever were a true reflection of what you are saying. One, would like to know where is that individual, number one. Has the consequence done on him? Is he still in the country? Has he vanished? Because the reason why that question of mine is preamble, there are things here that are glaring. Glaring. Sometimes you will get angry when you are being taken for a ride. It comes from where they are given platform from. The country is at pain. Now our kids are being poisoned left, right, and center. Limpopo, Free State, KZN, everywhere, our kids are given poison. Because they are given platforms somewhere by our people. They don't verify these people. These people, they come and they occupy high position in the country. And they can say, I have got a degree from Harvard. We take them. We put them on critical positions. They run things. And then they tell us whatever they want to tell us. Professor, we need to verify when we hire people of foreign in this country. Verify qualifications. The SIU was authorized to investigate the awarding of degrees at 40 universities. The investigation period that they gave, which started from 1 January and no longer than 1 November 2012, and end will no longer 5 August 2022, but 4 October 2024, the awarding of degrees, including all kinds of degrees. Has any new cases or information emerged since? If so, how many and which areas? How many students were found to be irregularly awarded qualifications as well? And within those stipulation of the years as well, is there any pinpointing out of, are there some people that we are trying to exclude in those periods that we start to put date? Because sometimes, you know, when we do these things, we're trying to protect some individual. Is there an element of that? Hence my background, Prof, that sometimes yes, figures so delay in our country. Sehliwe emakhanda. Because if you can verify these foreigners that you've hired, if they really, their qualification is of origin, you will be surprised that their qualification probably is fake or is fraudulent. But they come here, they practice as if they know everything. Those are my questions on qualifications, especially the foreign onboarding in the institutions. Remember, we're speaking UFA here, but this sickness is across the country. We have a tendency to make these people CFO in all state-owned entities. They are CFOs, all of them. But we have our kids who are chartered accountant are unemployed. But we have outsourced the heart of our universities, of our state-owned entities, and they come, they speak like this here. The second question is the recent development of the university.
Maybe before we go to the second one.
The second one, yeah.
There are certain parts that I think we must try and correct of the statement. There are, before we are accused of being xenophobic, certain parts that I think we must correct. Indeed, we do have foreign lecturers and researchers who have contributed immensely and positively to the country. So I don't want us to have a blanket approach in terms of having a certain, I mean, just recently, there's a professor from University of Free State who's teaching mathematics, who just, graduated about 50 PhD students, South Africans. In November or late October, he just won the first prize in mathematics in the United Nations, contributing immensely to our development in South Africa. And I don't want us to, tomorrow somebody who's following the discussion, watching on TV, to say that as the committee, we might have, so I thought maybe let's correct that part, maybe allow them to answer the first part about the alleged, I'm not sure whether it's alleged or confirmed, perpetrator when it comes to that particular part of fraudulent qualifications.
Yeah, Chair, I think I concur with you. The blanketing was not meant. The tendency, but I'm highlighting this issue of UFA. There are a lot. We have friends, Chairperson, even us, who are foreigners, who are doing very well in these countries. But when you see a certain pattern in one institution where problems emanate from, you have to highlight it, and you have to point it as so. It's not blanketing. But there is a problem that emanates this fashion, and you can see it continues over and over and over.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me welcome the contributions. I think that the correction by the Chair, or the qualification by the Chair, is very important for our purposes. And I will come to the individual, the specific case that you raised, Honourable. We have at Fort Hare experience of international scholars and administrators occupying very important roles. There was a time in the past when we South Africans were reluctant to go to places like Fort Hare. We were sitting at Witwatersrand, and an example of that. And many of those international scholars and administrators were the ones holding fort at Fort Hare. So I just want to clarify that so that we don't tar them with one brush. Now, on to the specific case about qualifications and the person concerned. It was a high-profile expose. We know it was on TV. Yes, indeed, that person, once we discovered, we immediately fired the person. That's one. As far as we know, and that person by that time had also just been stripped of his citizenship for reasons that are best known to the High Court. We became aware of that as well. And the last we remember was that the person was in the country. We don't have the latest update. I just want to say, with regard to him and the scheme, the racket that he was organizing, running, he worked with locals. It needs to be said as well. He worked with locals, many of them, either as enablers, aiders and abettors of his racket, or with people who are seeking qualification. So it's a complex picture. It's a complex picture. Now, one of the reasons, I should say, one of the reasons why we went to the SIU and said, let's sign an MOU, we realized that they were drilling into these cases of academic fraud, and we were stumbling on these cases internally. So we said, let's combine forces and sign the MOU. We gave them access. They started investigating. Now, when the first proclamation was issued on the 5th of August 2022, they had already done about 80% of the work. 80% of the work. But they were doing tests and they were doing links and linking the dots. What has happened since, and so what stopped them was a technicality in the courts. What they've now done is they've corrected that with a new amended proclamation. And again, I should say, in one of our briefings, we're meeting them again soon. In one of our recent briefings, they told us they've got many cases, but they were doing final double checking with senior counsel, because some of the cases will come to us as what they call referrals, disciplinary referrals. Now, those may or may not mean the rescission of qualifications. We'll see them when they come through. That's what they're testing now. And so it's not as if they've started from scratch. There may be cases that will arise that go back to 2004, as you indicate. Some of those may require additional work, but we are aware that they already have some information, some evidence about that as well, going back to 2004. So, Chair, just to conclude then on this one, it would seem that, therefore, in their investigation, they've traced this all the way back to 2004. And so it's one of those things that's delicate. We've been very careful in managing it internally, managing it externally, so that we don't harm the reputation, we don't harm the degrees. But it's one of those things, like heart surgery. You have to do you have to see some blood before you heal the patient, and that's where we are right now. Now, any new cases, from what we know, as I said, the SIU already has the information. All the information has been reported to them, and they'll take care of all the investigations. Now, the final thing I should say, the SIU does not report to us. It does not report to the minister. It reports directly to the president. And so we're not privy to the finer details of their findings, of their progress when it comes to cases. When they brief us, they give us overview kind of briefings. I don't know if I take that. Once again, I just want to qualify that it's very difficult to to paint it with one brush, because it's very complex inside, and it's something that we've taken. Just to brief the committee finally, the scope of the investigation has now been shifted back to 2004 from 2012, and it comes to the present, October 2024. Two, it's now including some qualifications which were not envisaged before. Initially, it was just honors degrees. Now it's honors, masters, and doctoral degrees. This is one of the things that they experienced during the court contestation. The third thing is that they've included some cases in law and in health sciences. That's where it is. But even there, it's kind of limited to certain
to certain qualifications only.